Hey guys, welcome back to the Hospitality Playbook. Miguel here with our next topic, restaurant etiquette. Let's get into it. We're going to be talking about five main things under this topic. The restrooms, what's the etiquette for the restrooms? Does what you wear matter? Like what is the nonverbal communication or cues that people picked up of, your attire and whatnot? What is the mutual expectation of guests as well as servers in this case? Reservation notes and arriving on time. A lot of the times people are celebrating certain things and they want a quiet table, the corner table, or whatnot. And all of these things are requests in reality. They're not demands. Restaurants try to like accommodate as much as they can, but these are just notes. These are not demands. And then sometimes this can throw the whole experience off right off the bat. And the last one is paying the bill. Paying the bill shouldn't be something overly complicated, but sometimes, you want to split the bill 10 ways, or people want to see the copy and just pick what they have eaten and or drank, and they want to penny pinch, and sometimes paying the bill can become a little bit of a nightmare. So let's get into it. Restrooms. What is the expectation of the restrooms? By default, when people go to your house or you go to someone's home, people usually gather in the kitchen, you hang out, have a couple of drinks. People that invite you to your house are usually friends, right? And then the restrooms have this big saying as to like the cleanliness of the whole apartment as well as how people live. People usually, light up those candles that have been sitting there collecting dust for 6 months because so-and-so are coming through the door, or you break out the nice china, or you want to show off your new decanters and glassware and so on and so forth, which is pretty cool because that's the whole idea of entertaining and showing hospitality and showing how much you appreciate people in your home and you want to, showcase and in this case be a good host. But on the other hand, with restaurants themselves, the restrooms are pretty much the same thing, the same way that it speaks as to the cleanliness of the place, the cleanliness of the kitchen and the food, and it kind of creates this like subconscious direct connection with the product that you're eating and drinking. And those things are pretty cool, but at the same time, people within the restaurants are not the ones getting the restrooms dirty. Actually, the guests are getting the restrooms dirty. So it becomes a little bit of a, push and pull dance because as restaurateurs, we can go in there as managers or operators. We want to make sure that they're never messy and or dirty, but at the same time, it can happen in the speed of a second. So like the reality with these things is that it disrupts a little bit of like what's really happening versus what people see and or get. And it can happen really quick. Like I remember vividly when I was just starting this in my industry. In this industry, I was a bosser like years ago. And my job was to go into the restrooms and make sure that they were tidy every like 30 minutes or so. So I went and I took a look at the whole restroom. The restroom was actually pretty clean, pretty well put together. There was no need to replenish anything. So I went there, I saw everything was fine, and I left. 5 minutes later or less, my manager at the time comes over and tells me, "Hey Miguel, please come with me." Walks me back to the men's room and then tells me, "Go wash your hands," which was pretty odd. But I went, I washed my hands, and then I went back into service. And at the end of the shift, I said, "Hey, like, why did you tell me to go back to the restrooms to wash my hands? What's up with that?" And then the answer was pretty simple, and it made a lot of sense then, right? He said, "Well, a guest came to me to tell me that one of my buzzers went to the bathroom and I came back into service without washing his hands. Although I did not touch anything, that was the perception that created this guest's reality and make him right because he did see me coming out of the men's room without washing my hands." And that in that split second, I understood that it's not about one thing or the other. It's just that perception becomes everyone's reality. And this can happen really quick. So our job is to keep up with the restaurants, making sure that they're clean and put together and nothing is missing. On the other hand, like the people that truly get the place a little bit messy are actually the guests that come to the restaurants, not so much the people that work at the place itself. So just be more mindful. A lot of times support staff is the one that's taking care of the bathrooms. Usually the front desk hosts and hostesses do their rounds from men's room and ladies' room just to make sure that everything is, in place. But I can assure you that the people that are getting the place not to your liking, it's not the people that work there. Moving on. Does what you wear matter, right? So like our attire, the way we look, the way we present ourselves is important for many different reasons in many different occasions. Same thing in the restaurants. When you go to a restaurant, depending on whether it's fine dining, you're celebrating something, it's your birthday, it's your wife's girlfriend, boyfriend's birthday, then like you want to celebrate, and like your purse, your watch, your shirt, like it plays a role into like how the transaction and the whole experience of hospitality come across for both ends, not just for the server, not just for the guest, right? But then let's talk about the service part of it, right? So when we see people with like nice watches and Rolexes, or like ladies with like like beautiful purses and like Chanel and the whole shebang, you can kind of understand this person is going to be very specific and or needy, which is just something that is a little bit of a back connotation to it. But on the other hand, you go like this person knows what he wants, and there's you have to have some sort of money, let's say like that. On the other hand, the education part of it, like how do we treat people, is on the guests. 9 out of 10 times, it's actually easier to deal with people that you see that they have money because they have been more exposed to many things, right? And it's one of those things that you go like, okay, like is this gonna translate also on the tip? Is this gonna translate also on like what are they gonna be ordering and how expensive is gonna be the bottle of wine? But at the same time, for top dollar, the guest expects top service. And that's where we as hospitality have to show up and deliver, not only to the expectation, maybe we have to surpass it. And that's kind of like cool because it pushes the envelope on both ends. The restaurant or hotel or whichever hospitality entity at this point has to truly step up to the ballpark and be like, okay, this is what I have, this is what I can do for you, this is how we do things here. And on the other hand, like you have a little bit more of a wiggle room because if someone is asking for like a vintage rather than a price for the wine, is asking for something along the lines as like, do you guys have can you add caviar to the oysters? So like what kind of champagne would you recommend with like this dish or whatever the case may be. So that way you start kind of like going into this like, okay, let's forge this experience together, and it will be pretty neat. But on the other hand, like unfortunately, we do fall under stereotypes and expectations, and on both ends. If you come into a restaurant in your city that doesn't have an A as a standard, that the average check per person is $350. Well, then yeah, you're gonna dress up nicely. You're gonna expect top service because you're willing to drop top dollars. But when you're not doing that, then it's actually a 50-50 almost type of relationship where like both sides play a huge role in creating that really cool and fun experience and memory. Third topic. This is what are the guests and expectations, right? And it ties into it, like what are the service expectations, which is really that, right? So like what I just said, like when the synergy is created, one the trust is created between the guest asking the questions and the server or bartender or manager giving the answers to those questions in a confident way, in an experienced and knowledgeable way, as well as in an educated way, then we're kind of like knocking down all those walls of like, do you understand what I'm asking, or can I trust you with my, questions and my money and my experience, and the other way around, like we're supposed to be there for it. Arriving on time and reservations. This is one of my favorite things because before we start any shift, and any restaurant that understands how crucial having pre-shift is in order to have a successful shift ahead of you. That's when you gather all the information, right? VIPs, notes, birthdays, celebrations, business, private events, allergies, so on and so forth. So the sequence goes: manager goes to front desk to maitre d or the host or hostess in charge. We say, hey, what's going on tonight? Like, how many covers do we have? What time is the first reservation? What time is the last reservation? What time is the peak? Rush so we can talk to chef and make sure that they have, everything lined up and so on and so forth. And what are the notes that we have to go over so we can tell each server on each station to be aware of? And that's when you go, okay, so we have so-and-so who has a shellfish allergy. They're here for a private event. One of the dishes has this. There is cross-contamination. This is what we're going to be recommending to these guests in case they have any questions. So that way we can navigate those allergies in the best possible way. Great. What about this other person? Oh, this is a VIP, friends of so and so who's gonna be here. Is a 15th time coming here in the past 6 months. So let's make sure that we welcome them with bubbles and that we send an extra dessert on us. And that's how we start creating this whole situation into like going like back and forth as to how important those reservations notes are. On the other hand, you have also reservations that says, I want the best table in the house. Well, we don't know who you are, right? And you're not saying hello. You're not bothering to call. You're just dropping this line here like you own the building. And that's when it gets a little dicey because we have, you're not the only person who's got the best, who wants the best table. You're not the only person who's celebrating something. And then sometimes those requests, because we don't know who you are, we cannot, allocate a tone to that line. So we're interpreting this the way that we're taking it. Like you might actually mean it in a very nice kind of polite way, but I do not know if you're actually sending it or typing it under that tone. We can also see the system allows you to see how far in advance you made the reservation. So if you say, I want the best table in the house on your notes and you made a reservation 6 weeks ago, I want to give it a nicer tone, right? Because I'm going to be like, okay, so you're planning this far in advance. This is important to you. That's just my logical thinking. I'm not saying that that's what it is. But if you made the reservation, like 48 hours, 24 hours ago on that tone, I'm like, come on, man. Like that's not how it works. Like we don't know who you are and you're already like demanding. And it sounds like, there might be a little bit of friction. So we also talk about these things because we need to do something that we call in hospitality saying no in a positive way. And the way that we say no in a positive way is by never saying or starting with the word no. We say, unfortunately, we couldn't, give you this table, but we have these other great options. Or, we have anything or something to offer you as an alternative in order for you to have the best possible table available at that given moment because we're not disregarding your request. It's just more of like the dynamic of every shift is slightly different. And that's how, and also arriving on time, or sometimes you're celebrating something big. And, if people don't call and don't give us a heads up that you're running more than like 10, 15 minutes late, rule of thumb is we cancel the reservation and we honor the next guest. Because we also have people that are there wanting to, partake on what we do. And then just because you made a reservation and you show up 30 minutes late, like it's like me having a grandma, but, she's dead. Like, not cool. So just loop us in on a little bit of the communication and situation so we can, adjust accordingly because we're here for you. We want you to come in, spend as much money, have as much fun, make us your new favorite spot. But in order to get there, like communication really plays a huge role because we are welcoming you who we just don't know yet. And the last topic that I have under this umbrella topic of restaurant etiquette, it's paying the bill. Paying the bill shouldn't be an issue. Paying the bill is something that is expected, something that it has to happen because you're, purchasing things. And sometimes it just becomes this like very like tedious whole mission. Imagine a group of 8 people coming to have food and drinks and they're having a great time. And again, like personally, I think that the way that I eat and drink is very different than the average person. Not that I'm better or worse. Most people might just have 2 things and have 2 drinks. I would probably have 4 drinks and 4 things. Just because I like to try and I like to experience, and at the same time, I know who I'm going out with to do certain things. I'm not saying that I do this all the time, but my point is like, because I am in this industry, I tend to like have my own idea of it, but being a little bit more objective to it. What this is really just like the language that you use and the way that we navigate these waters, because it creates more steps for the guest. It creates more, I'm sorry, for the server, and it creates this like tension between the guests sometimes, right? Because if I'm not drinking and I'm going out with my friends and everybody's having a great time and they're doing rounds of shots and they're doing bottomless at brunch or whatever the case may be, and then the bill arrives, right? And let's say that it's 6 people, and let's say that the bill is $300, so that's $50 a person, but I didn't drink, right? So I'm like, not cool that I'm floating $50 also when you guys had 6 drinks and I had just 6 glasses of water. But like that's when I think that I should like bring cash, because I'm like, I'm not drinking. So I'll pay for my food. I'll drop 30 bucks on the table. I'll say, hey guys, here's my par, and move on, and then let them figure it out. But when people start like penny pinching and going like, you have the $33 dish and I have the $31 dish, and you have the $15 cocktail and you have the $16 cocktail and I have the $9 beer, then it just becomes, you're hugging the server to do the math for you and to do all these separate bills when you guys are together. And then that server is perhaps not giving the greatest experience to the next table, which it could be you. It could be the table prior to you who's actually doing the splitting and this whole shenanigans. And now you're like, where is my server? So these little things add up to sometimes big, like disappointments in hospitality and the way that we do the experience. So just be mindful. Be mindful. You know what you're gonna eat. You know what you're gonna drink. You know your habits. You know what you like. You know what you don't like. So if you think that you should carry a couple dollars in you, another cash is not as common anymore. But this will help you and alleviate like the way that the bill is taken care of. So that is the topic for today. Restaurant etiquette. Keep an eye on those. Just my 2 cents. And stay in tune. We're gonna be doing a few more episodes pretty soon, and everything is kicking in super fun. So if you have any questions, please hit us up and let us know. Give us your comments and follow us in YouTube as well.